Sup guys, I'm an Aussie Metalhead. I'm doing 150 classic albums by the end of the year. I've done Rubber Soul and I've done Revolver, and then I'm doing Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club all the way up until Abbey Road. I really enjoy the Beatles. I didn't think I would, but I've even enjoyed some of the earlier stuff, the more folky stuff. I've vaguely heard one or two songs off of this album with A Day in the Life and then Something or something because 2 years ago my partner showed me the album. Showed me the song, not the album. But I've only heard it once or twice, so I don't remember it. Anyway, let's get into it. Sgt. Pepper's is, to a lot of people, the favorite album. So I'm curious to see if I think that, or if I think Rubber Soul or Revolver is better. Let's get into it. I already like. I'm sorry for pausing it so quickly, but I already very much mess with harsher instrumentation. Like from the vague things I remember from Abbey Road, which I haven't really listened to front to back, just vague listens in the car. I really like the rougher instrumentation. It's good shit.
It was 20 years ago today. Sergeant Pepper taught the band to play. They've been going in and out of style, but they're guaranteed to raise a smile. So may I introduce to you the active number all his years, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. With Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, we hope you will enjoy the show. Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, sit back and let the evening go. Sergeant Pepper's Lonely, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
I really love how they use directional sound. I don't know any other bands or anything really before the Beatles, but it does seem from I don't know, it would make sense that they would be one of the first to do it because I have heard some songs from the 60s and they just don't seem to toy with directional sound as much. Like opening up with the right ear with Paul McCartney into the trumpets coming in on the left ear and then using all of that to propel itself into the track is just really cool. It's rather rare, and when it's done well, like with the Beatles, it's outstanding. Like it elevates the track a lot more.
It's wonderful to be here. It's certainly a thrill. You're such a lovely audience. We'd like to take you home with us. We'd love to take you home. I don't really want to start the show, but I thought you might like to know that the singer's gonna sing a song, and he wants you all to sing along. So let me introduce to you the one and only Billy Shears, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club
Stellar introduction. Ooh.
What would you think if I sang out a tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. I get high with a little help from my friends. Gonna try with a little help from my friends. What do I do when my love is away? Does it worry you to be alone? How do I feel by the end of the day? Are you sad because you're on your own? No, I get
I also like it's interesting because obviously the 60s is the hippie era, especially around this time, like late 60s. Talking about getting high with your friends as the biggest band in the world. I'm not even sure. Like, there's artists that are the biggest artists in the world that's able to do that. Like, The Weeknd, biggest artist, is able to do that. But I'm thinking of like One Direction, like boy band, right? Would I don't know if it would have flown. I don't know if it would have flown if they're like, oh yeah, I'm getting fucking high with my friends, and like the bandmates talking about how they're gonna get high together. I don't know if that would fly, and I think that it's interesting because obviously when you think of the 60s, you think of a lot more of a conservative time, but that's just not the case when it comes to that. We live in a less conservative time with like like WAP being number one. That wouldn't have, I don't think that would have happened in the 60s at all. But I don't know. There is like tiny little pockets of inconsistency within the time frame where like we're just on a natural level we look back and we're like, oh, that's more conservative. Despite the fact that they were a lot more revolutionary in the 60s than we are now, with obviously the Black Panther movements, the civil rights movements, all of that sort of stuff. It's like a whole lot more revolutionary than we are today. But I don't know. It's just interesting.
With a little help from my friends. Get high with a little help from my friends. Gonna try with a little help from my friends. Do you need anybody? I need somebody to love.
Mm.
Could it be anybody? I want somebody to love. Would you believe in a love at first sight? Yes, I'm certain that it happens all the time. What do you see when you turn out the light? I can't tell you, but I know it's mine. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Get high with a little help from my friends.
I think
Oh,
I think vibe wise, I think I prefer this album over the other ones. But I'm wondering if there's going to be songs like "Drive My Car" from Rubber Soul, which I don't know if that's a massive song that people love. I love that song a lot. Or if there's going to be songs like "I'm Only Sleeping" from Revolver that I just absolutely adore. I'm wondering if it will reach the same heights because so far this track, I don't know, I like the feelings and vibes that it gives off more than the other two albums.
I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. You need anybody? I just need someone to love. Could it be anybody? I want somebody to love. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Gonna try with a little help from my friends. Oh, I get high with a little help from my friends. Yes, I get by with a little help from my friends. With a little help from my friends.
Yeah, like this is just such a I love the vibe of this entire track. Also, I want who was singing this one because the Rubber Soul and Revolver, George Harrison barely does anything apart from the instrumentation, and then Ringo gets like a pity song every single time. So I'm curious because this one doesn't sound necessarily like my idea of what John Lennon or Paul McCartney would sound like. So Sgt. Pepper's Get By with a Little Help lyrics. I'm just curious. I'm just gonna because it does sound just a bit different. Wait, this might. Oh, why? No wonder. I was like, who is this? It's Ringo. Also, this track is amazing. So Ringo gets way too much hate. Ringo always gets too much hate because I think vocally he has one of the more interesting voices. Not in like as in the sense of oh it's bad or anything. Like just straight up he has um a more interesting voice and nice voice to me than well it's hard. There's only four members and I like all of them necessarily, but I think he's rather on the same level vocally. It's just a lot of the time his tracks are just a bit silly. But like some of the silliness of like Yellow Submarine, I actually quite like that track. I think it's kind of fun, and especially because it's done very well. This track is also really, like really good as well. Also, it's funny how the most like I guess like overt track on that I've heard from the Beatles with "I Want to Get High with My Friends" is Ringo Starr saying it. It's like maybe that was a part of the reason why it was um more normal for him to say it because he's just like seen as this like an enigmatic, trying to say the word enigmatic figure that like he I don't know the depictions of Ringo as a person is actually just insane.
Picture yourself in a boat on a river with tangerine trees and marmalade skies. Somebody calls you, you answer quite slowly. A girl with kaleidoscope eyes. Cellophane flowers of yellow and green towering over your head. Look for the girl with the sun in her eyes and she's gone. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Follow her down to a bridge by a fountain where rocking horse people eat marshmallow pies. Everyone smiles as you drift past the flowers that grow so incredibly high. Newspaper taxis appear on the shore, waiting to take you away.
This track is more interesting maybe than other ones. I feel like it has like a much more unorthodox song structure or like vocal structuring and stuff like that. I don't know if it's like a blasphemic take. I'll actually look at the streaming numbers to see if it's a blasphemic take. Well, it might be. This track for me is my least favorite on the album so far. Like the other two were kind of just perfect, and this one, I don't know. I like the ideas at play, but I don't necessarily like how they come about sonically, because I don't really get drawn into it as much as the other tracks were. But this one might be like more technically proficient because there's more interesting ideas and less simple ideas being placed with like the instrumentation of like the slow drawing out like push and pull of it all and everything. But I don't know, it just doesn't hit me the same.
Lying in the back with your head in the clouds and you're gone. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
It is getting better. I feel like maybe by the end of the track I will have a different opinion on it because it is building. I might just be basing it on being like, oh, this is the vibe of the entire track, and it was just the building build up because this chorus is even like grander than the last one, and I just expected the choruses to be the same, and then go into a verse that is like the same sort of vibe, and then I was being like, but now that I'm hearing that it's kind of building up and the chorus is getting more theatrical each time, that could change my opinion on it.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Picture yourself on a train in a station with plasticine pauses with looking glass ties. Suddenly someone is there at the turnstile, the girl with kaleidoscope eyes. Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
I do really mess with the building towards the choruses. I guess like just the verses don't hit me as much. They feel like lulls to me, but I know that I'm probably in the minority considering that it's the most streamed track on the album, but I like the choruses a lot, but I don't know. The verses, I feel like the Beatles have a really good way of using the instrumentation and their verses to still keep you very much engaged, and this feels like it very has like I don't know what the cheeky little term is, but like the choruses carry this in my opinion.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
It's a great chorus though. Banging chorus.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
Hmm. I like how piercing that guitar is.
It's getting better all the time. I used to get mad at my school. The teachers that taught me weren't cool. They're holding me down, turning me round, filling me up with your rules.
Hmm.
I've got to admit, it's getting better,
Hmm.
a little better all the time. I have to admit, it's getting better, it's getting better since you've been mine.
Hmm.
We used to be angry young man, we hiding the head in the sand.
See, like with the, I know this is blasphemic, and I'm probably going to be talking that I'm using the other song as the reference because people clearly love that track. But with this, like the claps, with the type of like instrumentation within these verses, like is much more engaging to me, and it's keeping my attention the entire time. And same thing with little help from my friends. Granted, that one is a lot shorter, but this one is roughly the same length as the other one, and we're going into a verse, and the vocal delivery, I just prefer of Paul. I think. I think the last track, Lucy in the Sky, I'm assuming that was John Lennon, right? Lucy in the Sky, lyrics. I'm assuming that's John Lennon. I'm going to look it up. Yeah, I prefer Paul's vocals here. I think they carry a bit harder, and then also the instrumentation, which I'm just going to always give to George Harrison because it seems like he's the one that just like does the sound of every single album because he's barely on it, apart from I think playing the being the band. But yeah, I think this track does what I was feeling like I was lacking in the last track, where yeah, the verses are a lot more engaging to me. Sonically, there's like more stuff going on. It's like once we get into the verses, because we don't get the melodies of the chorus, it feels like with this track they're like, oh, we're going to add some claps in, we're going to make it more enticing.
You gave me the word, I finally heard. You're doing the best that I can. I've got to admit, it's getting better, a little better all the time. I have to admit, it's getting better, it's getting better since you've been mine.
Mm.
Getting so much better all the time. It's getting better all the time.
Granted, I think the chorus on Lucy and the Diamonds is probably a bit better than this one, but I would probably would still be more likely to listen to this track than the last one.
It's getting better all the time.
Mm.
I used to be cruel to my woman. I beat her and kept her apart from the things that she loved.
The one thing, like I guess it is sign of the times. It is just crazy. John Lennon, obviously notorious domestic abuser, and then being like, I used to be cruel to my woman, beat her, all that sort of stuff, and now I'm getting better. All of this, like, we've really come far. Because, like, there's basically no way you could have music today that is so poppy, um, and, like, glammed up and, like, cute, have this sort of subject matter without it being massively panned.
Man, I was mean, but I'm changing, I see, and I'm doing the best that I can. I admit it's getting better, a little better all the time. Yes, I admit it's getting better, it's getting better since you've been mine. Getting so much better all the time. It's getting better all the time. It's getting better all the time. Getting so much better all the time.
Mm. Or it's obviously it's like morally relative, right? So it's the same type of stuff that's going to cause controversy isn't going to be the same from now and back then, right? But it's kind of interesting that a song like this about like, oh, I used to beat my woman, but I'm getting a bit better. can be at the like the forefront. But then if we look at like current day controversy, it's like Sabrina Carpenter, um, I like making satire on um how men treat women as objects and as like dogs and stuff like that on an album cover, and how that blew up. Like that is a massive controversy. Now this is probably very dated by the time that you guys see it on YouTube, because it's 17th of June in Australia. But basically that controversy of like this album cover, if I show it, pop it up here, got like tens of millions of views and then a bunch of think pieces and all this sort of stuff, and it's just like it's the most mundane stuff. Where like at this time, I don't know if there was controversy about this song, but like just how different it is crazy to see. Like what's considered controversy back then, what's considered controversy now, and etc. And not.
I'm fixing a hole where the rain gets in and stops my mind from wandering where it will go. I'm filling the cracks that ran through the door and kept my mind from wandering where it will go. And it really doesn't matter if I'm wrong, I'm right. Where I belong, I'm right. Where I belong. See the people standing there who disagree, but never win, and wonder why they don't get in my door. I'm painting a room in a colorful way, and when my mind is wandering, there I will go. Hey, hey, and it really doesn't matter if I'm wrong, I'm right. Where I belong, I'm right. Where I belong. Silly people run around, they worry me and never ask me why I don't get past my door. I'm taking the time for a number of things that weren't important yesterday, and I still go.
This one doesn't have the same highs or the same lows as Lucy in the Sky. Um, so it's just interesting because I would say I don't know which song I prefer, but this one is definitely on the bottom of the album so far, um, along with Lucy. Because it feels like middle of the road, good to great, like great out song. But like I expect straight up perfection and stuff to like kind of like make me go, ooh, that's a really good song from the Beatles. So this one's, I don't know, a tiny bit of a low point to me. Relative, relative, relative to the Beatles. Grant, despite the fact that I absolutely love Paul McCartney's voice, easily my favorite voice on in the Beatles.
Stops my mind from wandering where it will go. Where it will go. I'm fixing a hole where the rain gets in. Stops my mind from wandering where it will go.
I know this track is one of my partner's favorites, so I'm curious. I don't remember it, but I've heard it once, like 2 years ago. But I have really bad memory, so I will not remember it whatsoever.
Wednesday morning at 5 o'clock as the day begins. Silently closing her bedroom door, leaving the note that She hoped would say more. She goes downstairs to the kitchen, clutching her handkerchief. Quietly turning the back door key. Stepping outside, she is free. We gave her most of our lives. Is leaving. Sacrificed most of our lives. We gave her everything money could buy. She's leaving home after living alone for so many years. Father snores as his wife gets into a dressing gown. Picks up
Again, it's interesting because I just listened to Michael Jackson's Off the Wall, and a lot of the slower tracks there feel nostalgic in like a seasonal way, like oh we're in Christmas or something like that, like something very familial. And this track has a lot of the same similarities in my opinion. Um, like the droning, what is the, I don't know what instrument it is, but the droning part like sounds. I wish I knew. I feel like I'm blanking because I would normally pick up on it, but like what instrument, but like the droning stuff and like how it pulls and everything, it just feels so cozy in like a um for seasonal way. Uh, I really like it. I'm a sucker for it when it does work. Well, like when it works for me.
letter that's lying there, standing alone at the top of the stairs. She breaks down and cries to her husband, Daddy, our baby's gone. Why would she treat us so thoughtlessly? How could she do this to me? We never thought of ourselves. Never a thought for ourselves. We struggled hard all our lives to get by. She's leaving home after living alone for so many years. Friday morning at 9 o'clock, she is far away.
I think so far, I can't remember. Maybe it's just me having poor memory, but the entire track and the storytelling of it, and then how the instrumentation is backing that up to be such this like cinematic storytelling vibe. I think out of all of the Beatles songs from the top of my head that I've listened to from Rubber Soul Revolver into this might be the most impressive track or like most grand track that they've done. Um, to me, I think that's the most impressive. It's a very, very good song.
Waiting to keep the appointment she made. Meeting a man from the motor trade. What did we do that was wrong? He's having. We didn't know it was wrong. Fun is the one thing that money can't buy. Something inside that was always denied for so many years. She's leaving home.
This one, yeah, it feels like because a lot of their tracks, what I find super interesting about the Beatles is that they have very short songs, but they're able to cram so much substance within it, sonically. Like it's all very interesting instrumentation that's going on, and it just like feels like they're firing on all cylinders for like 2 minutes. So then being able to do a longer track like 3.5 minutes, and then it has the storytelling aspect, which I feel like is something that they aren't able to grapple with too much, considering the fact that when they create songs, they're 2 minutes long. But with this, it's longer and it's more drawn out, and then the instrumentation is backed up to it to keep up the pace of the quality that another 2 minute song that would have does, and I don't know, I really appreciate this track. It's really really good.
For the benefit of Mr. Kite, there will be a show tonight on trampoline. The Hendersons will all be there. Later Pablo Frank is there. What a scene! Over men and horses, hoops and garters, lastly through a hogshead of real fire. In this way, Mr. K will challenge the world. The celebrated Mr. K performs his feat on Saturday at Bishopsgate. The Hendersons will dance and sing as Mr. Kite flies through the ring. Don't be late. Letters K and H assure the public their production will be second to none. And of course, Henry the Horse dances the waltz.
Ooh. Ooh. That was so cool. It was like a very whimsical but like off-putting sort of circus act for the instrument, like in the solo there. That was so sick.
To 6 when Mr. K performs his tricks without a sound. And Mr. H will demonstrate 10 Somersets he'll undertake on solid ground. Being been some days in preparation, a splendid time is guaranteed for all. And tonight, Mr. Kite is topping the bill.
Ooh. That it's probably the coolest song from the Beatles I've heard because like I love how haunting and circusy the instrumentation is, but it's also whimsical. It straddles so many different flavors while doing it. I love that. Ooh. I love this vibe.
We were talking about the space between us and the people who hide themselves behind the wall of illusion. Never glimpse the truth when it's far too late, when they pass away. We were talking about the lovely overture when we find it to try our best to hold it back with see you're really only very small, and life flows on within you and without you.
This is probably the most unique track by them because like it's the song that sounds nothing like the rest of their discography that I've listened to. Um, and it's kind of I like that. It's nifty. I like how dynamic they are. Like they play every single album. They play on such different sounds. Um, within each. So like Rubber Soul does not sound like Revolver, and Revolver doesn't sound like this. But then also within that, they have such differentiation as well. They're an incredibly versatile band for sure, and I don't know. I really like the vibe of and the atmosphere of this entire album. Like I much prefer even though this might get lower rated than Revolver or something like that. I might prefer this album because it just tickles me more. Like it's just like, oh, this is like I love the guitars and how kind of uneasy they are a bit. Like I know I like it a lot. Mm, mm, mm.
We were talking about the love that's gone so cold, and the people who gain the world and lose the soul. They don't know,
Mm.
they can't see. Are you one of them?
This is easily their most grand album. Like all of the stuff that it's their most ambitious for sure. Revolver felt like them kind of perfecting a lot of their sounds a lot, and then like making it a bit more dynamic, and a bit more textured. Rubber Soul was like like a perfect foray into like folk rock, where this feels like it's by far their most ambitious record, that I've heard out of the three, and I really like that, despite the fact that the album might be rated lower. I haven't when I get to the end of it, I'm not too sure. I have no idea, but like we'll have to wait until then. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's really cool. I like how ambitious the album is.
When you've seen beyond yourself, then you may find peace of mind is waiting there. And the time will come when you see we're all one, and life flows on within you and without you.
Yeah, like that track is the most like it's probably the longest that I've heard from the Beatles. But also on top of that, um, accompanying that, it is like the most sonically rich track, where just the longest, most like complete thought sonically. Uh, I don't know. I really liked it. It was a lot more experimental than the stuff that they do, which I don't know warms me up to them a bit more. I don't know. As much as this might even be the lowest rated album, I'm not too sure. Um, I thoroughly enjoy it, and it makes me like the Beatles a whole lot more that they did an album like this. And they did it really well too, because I think maybe like Drive My Car and I'm Only Sleeping and stuff like that. Those are the highest highs between the three albums. Those type of songs, but um, for me, but like the meat of the albums, I prefer Sergeant Pepper's. I think this is cheeky.
When I get older, losing my head, many years from now, will you still be sending me a Valentine? Birthday greetings, bottle of wine. If I'd been out till 2:45, would you lock the door? Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Mm, mm,
You'll be all that
oh, I like it.
and if you say the word, I could stay with you.
Mm,
I could be handy mending a fuse when your lights have gone.
mm,
You can knit a sweater by the fireside. Sunday mornings go for a ride. Doing a garden, digging the weeds. Who could ask for more? Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
mm.
Every summer we can rent a cottage in the Isle of Wight if it's not too dear. We shall scrimp and save. Grandchildren.
I really love when they do like these. I don't know, they're very um cute tracks, cute storytelling-ish tracks. Where is it? I don't know. They have such a charm to them. They can make such a charming track, and this is definitely one of them. Um, I don't know, cheery. It's very cheery, and I really love when they do a cheery tune.
On your knee, Vera, Chuck, and Dave. Send me a postcard, drop me a line, stating point of view. Indicate precisely what you mean to say. You're sincerely wasting away. Give me your answer, fill in a form. Mine forevermore. Or will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
This one is probably like the most dated track that I've probably heard from them in a while. Um, because this does sound like the 60s. It does very much. Well, like a lot of their tracks, they sound like a lot of the elements because they're reused so often um, throughout history that it sounds more timeless. Where this one definitely sounds more of its age, but that kind of gives it a charm of the track that I enjoy a lot. Like it reminds me of like a tune that could be in like the original Tom and Jerry's and stuff like that. Granted, that they didn't really have lyrics or anything like that, but like you get what I mean. Like it's just I don't know, it's cute and warm. Mhm.
Lovely Rita, meet a maid. Nothing can come between us.
I really do think albums that have just like Paul McCartney as the vocals and then George Harrison doing a lot of the band work and guitars and that sort of thing. Because I don't know much about Paul McCartney's like solo career, but when you have Paul McCartney and George Harrison, they feel like the Beatles to me. Like John Lennon has when he does like dual vocals with Paul McCartney, it's really pretty. But like solo tracks, I definitely tend towards Paul McCartney. And when I think of like the Beatles, um, George Harrison, despite being kind of not present apart from band, when I think of the Beatles, I think of George Harrison as like the second hand to Paul McCartney for the parts that I love because George Harrison ended up having his own album that's considered amazing. Paul McCartney, I don't necessarily remember having like an illustrious solo career with albums that are considered like amazing classics, but Paul McCartney's voice is my favorite. And then like when I think of what if vocally if I could take out all the parts I love the most and I get rid of the parts that I don't mind to get rid of, it's like okay with the Beatles I would want the vocals are taken care of. I could have Paul McCartney sing the entire thing. Okay, so who's doing the instrumentation? Well, it just seems like George Harrison because he's never on these albums. He never sings. So it just seems like George Harrison is the person doing all the instrumentation. So I feel like the meat of the Beatles is Paul McCartney and George Harrison. And John Lennon, I guess it's like if you like, I could understand why you would think John Lennon is the top one because it's like if you really vibe with his voice, then he's kind of like your Paul McCartney. But for me, it's like Paul McCartney, George Harrison. Ringo's kind of there being a little goofball. He has a bit of character. I kind of like it. Um, and John Lennon, like a lot of his like solo tracks, like I famously don't necessarily fuck with Norwegian Wood that much. And Lucy and the Diamonds is another song that should be a massive hit that everyone loves. That everyone does love, but I just don't mess with because I don't know. John Lennon doesn't like he's not able to draw me into the track as much. Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing to do to save his life, call his wife in. Nothing to say but what a day, how's your boy been? Nothing to do, it's up to you. I've got nothing to say but it's okay. Going to work, don't wanna go, feeling low down. Heading for home, you start to roam, then you're in town.
Also, actually, curiously, because they're talking about like going to work, all this sort of stuff, like working struggle sort of stuff, touching on it, not like head first, but they're touching on it. I don't actually know much about the lives of the Beatles. I don't know if they grew up all rich. I just assume they did because they kind of look preppy. Um, but I actually don't know. Like, I don't know if all of them did grow up like upper class. I wonder. That feels like something I should just like know through the ether because the Beatles are so big, but I don't.
Everybody knows there's nothing doing, everything is closed, it's like a ruin. Everyone you see is half asleep, and you're on your own, you're in the street. After a while you start to smile, now you feel cool. Then you decide to take a walk by the old school. Nothing has changed, it's still the same. I've got nothing to say, but it's okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
The guitar worker is really cool, and also like I feel like a lot of the Beatles gets misnomered, because a lot of people I think hate the Beatles because the Beatles that they know is like I Want to Hold Your Hand, this like really glitzy poppy like 60s stuff, but like I think there was a tiny bit on Revolver, but on here with the guitars, especially the start with Sergeant Pepper's, right? Like the more abrasive guitars, it's like that's kind of heavy, especially for the time. Like, you're definitely getting into like harder rock areas with some of the use of the guitars on these later Beatles tracks. And I feel like if you are someone that, like my family, right, they love Pink Floyd, um, and they love Led Zeppelin, that sort of thing. And it's like I feel like if you love those, you probably should like later end Beatles, or at least some of the tracks from later end Beatles. Especially because like Dark Side of the Moon, vocally, my lord, do they sound like the Beatles a lot of the time on there. So yeah.
People running round, it's 5 o'clock, everywhere in town is getting dark. Everyone you see is full of life. It's time for tea and meet the wife. Somebody needs to know that I'm glad that I'm here. Watching the skirt, you start to flirt, now you're in gear. Go to a show, you hope she goes. I've got nothing to say, but it's okay. Good morning, good morning.
Wait, I am so oblivious to the times, like with the 60s, because we have such digital interfaces now when it comes to like recording stuff. Like the idea of what I'm doing right now, of being able to record with just, I don't know, or any of this technology that I'm using right now is just lost on the 60s. They just don't have it. So it's just interesting, like, how did they get such clear recordings of animals? I just like that. I know I've touched on this with I think the first Beatles album. I didn't touch on it too much on the second because I think maybe it's like my ignorance showing through and it could be a bit annoying. But I am really fascinated on like the technological aspects of how you do certain sounds with this, with the lack of technology that you had back then. That is some crisp bird chirping. That like for right now, I could just for bird chirping, I would just type in stock bird chirping on like any app and I could find it and I could just put it on my track. Same with the dog barking. Back then though, you didn't really have that. And my understand like for whatever reason in my mind, like recording equipment, um mixing and mastering, all of that is completely different and weirder now, back then than it is now. So it's like, did you hold a microphone to a dog, but then also like how did you set up that microphone for it to not have like massive noise gate issues? Because my lord, I don't even know how to set up my microphone. It's the reason why I'm using this instead of that, because like it's a lot more complicated than it seems to be. It's not like just plug and play with like one of these. So I know there's so much of technical questions that I'm so curious about when it comes to older music stuff because you didn't have the technology um, that would make it so much more simpler. Yeah. Like I'm even so brain stupid, let's just say. I'm so stupid that like in my head I'm like I just assume that shit from the 60s, most of it was live recorded. Like even with all of this sort of stuff and you kind of have to storyboard it out like you bring a fucking elephant in while you're doing it because it's how did you edit tapes? How did you do that to add in and also how did you mix and layer it so well if you're using elements like this? Um, for me, like an example is On the Run. I really like the directional sound of that of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. But I can understand how you could do that. Just from like if you did a live recording, you could have the microphone there, and then you do all the sounds, and then you just like pitter patter. I could see how through trial and error it would be pretty easy to do that, but it's really cool creatively. With this, I don't know how you add in the animal sounds on top of it with the mixing, because if I'm thinking of movies, you have literal long tapes. When I'm thinking of music, you have CDs. I don't even know how vinyls work, because it's just a bunch of ridges, but somehow that makes music. There's such, I don't know, the technology, I just really have no idea, and it really fascinates me. Um, and I just kind of feel stupid. It's one of the areas where I feel completely ignorant in. Yeah, I don't know. Mm. This is cool. This is like funky to the point where like I swear I would hear this sort of beat on like a 2000s hip hop track or like late 90s, early 2000s. I don't know. This is really cool. And then we go into the last track. That was a nice little reprise. I often get scared about reprises and stuff because it feels like, oh, it's gonna be redundant. I've already heard this song. I'm gonna have to like slog through it a bit. But I liked how they made it shorter, and that track is already good enough that it kind of feels neat to be able to bookend it. And I think heard this track once. I know that I think it might be my partner's favorite Beatles song. Might be, but I don't remember it. Granted, their favorite was She's Leaving Home and A Day in the Life. So what I'm expecting, especially with this being so long, um, is a very like cinematic, like beautiful piece, like they did with She's Leaving Home. Mm, mm.
I read the news today,
Oh,
oh boy,
mm,
about a lucky man who made the grade. And though the news was rather sad,
mm,
well, I just had to laugh. I saw the photograph.
mm,
He blew his mind out in a car. He didn't notice that the lights had changed. A crowd of people stood and stared. They'd seen his face before. Nobody was really sure if he was from the house of law. I saw a film today, oh boy.
mm,
The English army had just won the war. A crowd of people turned away, but I just had to look, having read the book. I'd love to turn you.
The instrumentation and the vocals on this is very stunning. Also, one of the tracks where like because they're so short and concise, what I've been touching on with their 2 minute tracks, this doesn't feel like it's been 2 minutes yet. Um, their pacing on this song is really amazing as well. I really love that build up of a cacophony of sounds and then the anticlimactic just cutting it off. Yeah, this could definitely end up being my favorite Beatles track so far.
Woke up, fell out of bed, dragged a comb across my head. Found the way downstairs and drank a cup. And looking up, found my coat and grabbed my hat, made the bus in seconds flat. Found my way upstairs and had a smoke, and somebody spoke and I went into a dream.
Ooh.
I read the news today, oh boy. 4,000 holes in Blackburn, Lancashire. And though the holes were rather small, they had to count them all. Now they know how many holes it takes to fill the Albert Hall.
Hmm.
I'd love to tell.
Hmm. 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 That's easily the best Beatles track. Just how like the experimental aspects of the last bit there, like the reprise, um, the cacophony of sounds within the solos between the passages, the performance entirely, how clear and crystal it all is. Yeah, this is their best song that I've heard at least. This album was a I really like Sergeant Pepper's. I think it's weird because I don't know, it's so weird. I think rating wise, because I'm doing ratings on the side, it might be the lowest out of the three, but I think I might like it the most. Uh, its oddities add to its charm, I think, and also the type of sounds that it's going for, with like some of the circus themes, like the warm, cozy um, vibes. 64 is definitely sounds like it's from 64. Um, but I love it. It has so much charm and warmth to it. I can definitely understand why Beatles is people's favorite album. It might not make the most sense. Like so it might be Abbey Road or Revolver, or I haven't listened to the White Album, but like White Album or whatever is that makes the most sense. But like I can understand why you would be warm to Sgt. Pepper's over the other ones because I think I might even be. Um, yeah, amazing album. Thank you guys for watching. I love you. Peace.